Hi, and welcome to another fast, loose watercolor painting. Today we're going to do a little scene by a marsh in the wintertime. I'm going to use some Payne's Gray, maybe a few other colors like perhaps some yellow ochre and some burnt sienna. Probably not much more than that. And I'm going to do this sort of fairly intuitively. I got a couple of brushes. I got a 3/4 inch flat. Number 5 round. I got a 6mm flat. That's a Winsor Newton, and just a number 1 round. So we'll try to keep this pretty fast and loose. I'm working on a 140-pound piece of watercolor paper, and this is 5 by 14. I got my little pencil box here in case I have to tip my page up. I know I'm going to have to. I got some clean, fresh water, so let's go. So we're gonna wet the top 3/4 of this page. So basically from here down, we want it wet, but not soaking wet. So this is going to be wet on wet that we're gonna do here. So, you know, you kind of have to tilt your head to the side to see that your whole page is wet. Just move the water back and forth across here. Remember, this is going to be fast and loose, so not a lot of rules in this. Going to get some Payne's Gray here, and we're just going to put our Payne's Gray across the top. A little bit darker than that, maybe. This is sort of inspired by a place that's not too far from my house. I'm going to tip this up, put my little pencil box underneath there, get some of this to run down the page here. And if it's not running enough for you, you just wet it. Again, watercolor paper will absorb a lot of moisture, so sometimes the first time that you put that across there, it's actually absorbed into the paper, and there's not a lot of water left on top to flow freely. All right, that's not too bad. I'm gonna actually put a little bit more pigment on here. You know, make it a little bit darker sort of sky. You know, I live in southern Ontario and it's winter, so that means that we're gonna have sort of this gray kind of sky for quite a while. Tilt your page, you know, so that the water is running left to right and right to left. And don't be afraid to just walk away from it for a few minutes and get it to, you know, really, you know, just sink into the page and get some of that color moving there. All right, that's not too bad there. That will diminish a lot, okay? So we have a tree line that goes sort of from down here that gets very close over here. And these are all cedars and pines. So most of these cedars and pines we're going to make fairly large here and fairly small here, sort of in a bit of a crescent kind of a shape, if you will. Okay, so I'm gonna lay this back down flat because that's not too bad right now. I'm gonna take my 3/4 inch brush and I'm gonna wet an area in the center of my palette here. I'm gonna pick up some more Payne's Gray, and I'm gonna start putting in some cedar trees, and it's just going to, you know, go something like that. I want these to go down. I'm gonna get smaller and smaller as they go further down the marsh away from us. You see how that's turning into a cedar tree, not too badly there at all already. Or a pine tree, or whatever it is that you think it is. It's perfectly fine. So I'm gonna bring some of this down here now so that it looks like it's making a curve, if you will. And this is fairly dry across here, so to look a little different. Yeah, that's not too bad. Pick up a little bit more pigment. And I'm going to switch brushes here for a second. I'm going to take my smaller brush. Just make some smaller trees sort of as they're falling away from us. Pick up some more pigment. And you can pick up the pigment, you know, where it's fairly wet, you can pick up the pigment sort of right off the pigment. I have some other stuff that's mixed over here. It's a good idea to mix them up a little bit and add a little bit of variation to your work. Yeah, it's coming along pretty good right now. It's not too bad at all. Okay, so we want this to, you know, start to come around towards us a little bit here. That's not too bad at all for that marsh, for the edge of the marsh, I should say. Okay, so a lot of this today is sort of windswept, but right along the edge here is where all of the cattails and reeds and other things all grow. So we're going to actually take our small flat, and we're going to leave a bit of a white space along there. So we're going to try to not touch quite a bit of that. We're going to try to leave a white space between that tree line and where this marsh is going to be. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. And I'm going to take some yellow ochre, which is sort of the color that those dead and dying, I guess not dying, they're long dead, cattails actually are. And we'll bring that right into there. Okay, that's not too bad at all right there. And you can take a tissue if you like. The other thing you might need here is a sharp point like on a compass. And we're going to put some detail along here where some cattails are maybe going to come up into where the cedars are along there. So you're just going to drag it through there. You know, give it a little bit of variation. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of burnt umber, and I'm just going to touch this in here, not too much, just a little tiny bit. Again, just to add some variation to the color here. Those trees are sort of turning out fabulous along there. That's not too bad at all. I really like what's happening to those cedar trees and those pine trees and things. That's turned out pretty good. Okay, so again, you can take this and, you know, add yourself some cattails right in up close here. We're going to change a little bit of that in just a second. And so you see how it looks like snow like in the tree line there because of how it was I touched it with the flat brush. So now we're going to create a little bit across here of sort of some snow swept marsh. Okay, so we're just going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray here and just drag it a little bit across there, just to create some sort of sharp lines, like where something might be windswept, just like that. And I'm going to take my tissue and I'm just going to touch that. Just take a little bit of that out. The other thing I'm going to do right now is, I think these are turning out pretty good right here, but I'm going to put a little bit more darkness in, just in along the edge here, anywhere. Just like that. That's some good variation. And then I'm going to go back to my compass point again. See if I can just create a few more of those. Right, oh, that's not too bad at all. That's not too bad at all. I got a little bit of this burnt umber left on here, so I'm just going to do that in a few places. I'm actually going to put my glasses on because, and then I'm going to take the point of this and just make some like bulrushes, if you will, sticking out of the snow or sticking out of the ice, whatever it is that you might think it is. Like that. Don't go too crazy. That's not too bad at all. Honestly, that is sort of what it is that I seen this morning. To tell you the truth, it's not too bad at all. I think I'm going to take a little bit of Payne's Gray, and no, I'm not. I was going to make a little bit of line across there, but when I looked off into the distance, there wasn't too much to see because it was sort of snowy, you know, so there is stuff in the background back here, but you wouldn't have been able to see it. I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is right there. All right, that's it. I'll take a picture of this and I'll stick it on at the end. Thanks for watching. If you learned anything from me today, please give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And I love hearing from you. So if you have a question or a comment, please leave it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you again next time.